Splatoon, Nintendo's shot at a third-person shooter. Get it? You know what? I don't need humor. This was a mistake. I'm starting over. And Splatoon, Nintendo's attempt at a third-person shooter. Nintendo has been known for making some pretty awesome games, but they've tended to shy away from the shooter genre. And if recent games have taught me anything, it's that shooters typically consist of blood, gore, intense violence, strong language, and a healthy dosing of destroying human life. But if you think that I don't enjoy playing shooters, you'd be wrong. I'd love to play Goldeneye 007 with my friends any chance I can get. So what would happen if you took Nintendo's charm and creativity and mixed it with a third-person shooter? Well, I think you get something that looks a lot like Splatoon. The first thing you'll notice about Splatoon is its incredibly different style than anything Nintendo's done before. And instead of explaining it, here's a line from the game's introduction.
Hey, this is the plaza, where all the freshest folk come to chill like krill.
Now don't get me wrong, I love the style they chose. And despite being different than a typical Nintendo game, it still has that lovable feel that makes you say, this is Nintendo. Moving away from the game's style, let's discuss the game's gameplay. Your job as either a boy or girl inkling is to become fresh enough to buy new weapons and new gear that will help you win in battle. And when I say battle, I mean online battles. I would say that roughly 75% of your time will be spent playing online. There's also a single player and local multiplayer mode as well, but I'll get to that later. Online multiplayer can be done in one or two ways. Play online with anyone, or play online with friends. If you decide to play online with anyone, you'll have currently two choices. Ranked battle, where every win or loss affects your grade, and regular battles, which are just for fun and don't affect your grades. While regular battles are safer, ranked battles will land you more points that will help you level up faster. And of course, you'll make more money than regular battles. Within these, there are also two different modes, Turf War and Splat Zones. Turf War has the player attempting to cover as much of the map with his or her ink. And it's not so much about attacking the other team, as it is defending your territory. Plus, most of your time will be spent simply inking everything in sight, and your final score is more affected by how much of the map you covered than how many splats you got. It's a fresh departure from the traditional shooter game, which is often just about getting as many kills as possible. The same goes for Splat Zones, except this time your goal is to cover as many of the specific areas of the map with your ink. If you can control all the areas for long enough, your team wins. This mode is much more action oriented than strategic, but you will have to have a plan before going into battle or splat. You may have noticed that I said currently a lot. That's because Nintendo will constantly be updating the game with new stages, modes, weapons, and more. And what stages you will be playing on in each mode are randomly selected from a pool of currently available stages. At some points during the game, the stages will change, so you never know where you're going to be playing next. After playing the game after 5 or so hours, I was surprised how many matches ended so closely. Once my team actually won by only 0.3%. Sure, there are times when it's 60-20, but those matches are few and far between. And the game usually fixes the teams later in the next battle. Now you're probably wondering how well online runs. Is it fast? Is it fluid? Can you find a match easily? And the answer to all those questions is yes. Matches run smoothly without any lag at all, at least for me. Through the many matches I've taken a part of, only a couple have actually disconnected me from the game. But those are very few and also really far between. And speaking of disconnecting, this is my favorite part. You can't quit in the middle of a battle. No rage quitting, no matter how bad it gets. I love that. That is my favorite part. The only way to quit in the middle of a battle is by unplugging the console, and I wouldn't exactly recommend that. Luckily, for those who need to quit, matches are only 3 minutes long, and the option to continue playing or not will come immediately after. While waiting for a match, you can even play a cool little game on the gamepad. It's a fun little distraction, and it will even save your exact position if the match starts before you finish a level. You can even pick up the game later while waiting for another match, or simply playing the arcade game in Inkopolis. As far as controls go, it may take a bit of time to get used to. You can choose to use motion controls and the right stick together, or just the right stick to control the aim. The stick's sensitivity can also be changed in the settings. After much trial and error, I chose to use motion controls with a fast right stick, so I can quickly turn around, and it works actually quite well. The motion controls never went out of whack for me, but it did take a while to get used to it. For some odd reason though, you can only change controls in the plaza. I could understand if you didn't want people to change controls while online, but why not in single player mode? It makes it really difficult to test which controls are best for you, because you have to go to single player, try it out, exit back to the plaza, tweak it, go back to single player, and rinse and repeat. It's just a small complaint though, that doesn't really affect the game. Speaking of single player mode, I can't say enough good things about it. It's a great break from the fast-paced action of online multiplayer, and allows you to think more strategically and plan out your movements. The levels are challenging and ramp up in difficulty at quite a nice pace. There's a good variety of levels as well, but all of them revolve around saving a zapfish from the evil octopi. These levels challenge you to think, plan, and execute using some really cool techniques. And in the end, it actually makes you really much better at multiplayer matches. There's even a fun little story that ties everything together, but don't expect anything groundbreaking here. Despite being all that, there are a few downsides. You can't choose your weapons. Instead, you can only use the gun Hero Shot. But luckily, you can spend collected orbs to add some level of customization, like a faster fire speed or a larger blast radius on bombs. With just over 25 levels, it's a decent sized campaign, and a whole lot of fun to play. In each level, there's a hidden scroll that you can find, some of which are hidden very well. These scrolls add a little bit of backstory to the game, about like how the turf wars began. Other than that though, there really isn't much reason to return to a level. Unless of course, you bought a Splatoon Amiibo. I decided to purchase the Inkling Girl Amiibo to test out for this review, so let's talk about that. First off, these Amiibos look awesome. They are very well made and go great with the other 19 Amiibos I own. By going to the Amiibo box in the plaza and tapping the Splatoon Amiibo on the gamepad, the character will appear in the box and offer you challenges to complete, which are usually different spins on single player missions you've already completed. My Inkling Girl challenged me to complete a handful of levels using only a given charger weapon, and in return, I would receive cash. If you complete all 3 sets of challenges, you'll be presented with one more challenge based on a boss fight, and after completing that, you'll receive special Amiibo only items, like gear to wear. These challenges are very, challenging at times, and add some nice replay factor to the single player levels you've already completed. And as far as the exclusive Amiibo gear goes, it's not going to give players an advantage that other people who haven't purchased Amiibo won't have. Instead, they just look really cool, but function really the same as any other 2-star gear you can find in the in-game shop. Now, you might be wondering why I haven't discussed local multiplayer yet. Well, I'll tell you this, it isn't because I wanted to save the best for last. In fact, local multiplayer is really disappointing. It's one-on-one multiplayer where one person uses the Wii U Pro Controller or Classic Controller to control his or her player on the TV, while the other player uses the gamepad. While I would have liked it to at least be 2 versus 2, this isn't too bad. The bad part is that the only game mode available is popping balloons. And that's it. I expected, I guess more? Maybe a few different game modes, but this is it. I played around with it with a friend of mine, but after a couple matches, we just stopped and played Rock Band 3. Now that's a good game to play with friends. If you're looking for Splatoon as a fun game for local friends, I would not get your hopes up. In conclusion, Splatoon is really good. It's a fun online multiplayer game and includes a really fun single player campaign. If for some reason people stop playing Splatoon online or Nintendo shut down the servers, which I don't expect to happen for years, then Splatoon would be an empty shell. The game relies so heavily on online, and taking that away or not playing online yourself, you would lose more than half the game. In the end though, Splatoon far exceeded my expectations, and I am loving it. Now if you'll excuse me, I think my gamepad is finally recharged enough, so I can play 3 to 4 more hours of online matches. So this has been a Beta64 review of Splatoon. Thanks for watching.